Good God. I don't know what's going on. It should be good. All right, let's see if this is working because this is starting to piss me off a little bit. I can't believe I pay for this. Absolutely insane. Okay, it looks like it's working, and that's cool on X that you can just click on the video and it just links. So let's hope that's working here. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like it so far. All right. Looks like it. All right. Well, then we will start the show then. For this makes me even more mad because I'm pretty sure it's working, but I don't know if it is. I'm just streaming straight to YouTube right now. There's problems with X. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it looks like it's working on YouTube here. All right, let's do this. We got 4 people. All right, people showing up. Let's do this. All right. So yeah, we got game plans, right? We got game plans for tomorrow. We got game plans. What's happening, right? I think right now is big thing. Are we selling off, or is this new all-time highs? That's my biggest question going into tomorrow. All-time highs, or are we selling off? Because for SPY, it's honestly super simple, right? We're literally right up here with all-time highs, or we rejected all-time high supply yet today, of course, at 696. We came down, and we're just in this range, and we're kind of flagging here, and we are up. I guess green after hours, a lot of green, or mostly green here after hours. Nothing crazy, just kind of bouncing up from end of day sell there. So that's kind of the one thing that we're just kind of watching. We haven't really broke uptrend structure yet on a higher time frame. We're still right here at it. So like this is the big thing, job numbers, right? What's going to happen? So before we get into that real quick, let me just go over kind of recap. Since I streamed Sunday, I haven't streamed since. Let me just recap, my week so far. And, Monday was good. We caught NVIDIA calls like right at open for that blast all the way up to 690 or 193 area. We caught it around 187, 186 for that push out. This is just the explosions that we look for. Monday morning we came out and, we caught it. Exactly the move we're looking for, hourly push out. Really good move there. And that was that was exactly what we're looking for. Before that, though, I actually took Intel puts, and you can see right here, this was a really gnarly candle, but it ended up crossing under, right, breaking under my zone there on this hourly. And right there is where that structure break, but that 49 break was what I was looking for into a gap fill, which was this gap fill right here that we filled almost all of it. Or today we actually filled all of it, but we filled, I would say, 88% of it. And so we got from 49 all the way down to 47.5. And with Intel contracts, that was good. So we turned around after that, and that's when I noticed, NVIDIA was blasting. So that was Monday. We took those 2 wins to the bank. Boom. Really good wins. And then we sat back. Now, as really not much even happened. And of course, you can see same thing, not much even happened. So one of the first things first, what I was looking for was AMD at open today. This was kind of the same, little same situation. Hourly Wasn't as aggressive as I would like, but you can see we kind of flagging, blasted through the flag there, and it ended up failing. But this is just one of those things. See flag right there and blasted through. This is just one of those things where um, we can still bank on our usual blast out even if it fails, right? So even if we get a good fill at 215, still ran a 219, $4 move, you're still making money as long as you're handling the position, correctly. And, you're not really taking a super amount of trims. I would say the best thing is just kind of set your trims like 2 or 3 and, so you're out of it regardless. But yeah, this was first trade right there. Pretty good stuff there. And then we turned around and we went Google puts. Google puts was a pretty crazy one here into ended up breaking under 320 and pulling all the way down to 314 there. So we caught the move kind of on the move down in the same hourly. So caught a good break under that 318 level all the way to 315, 314 area. So pretty good move right there. And then we turned around, ended up playing SPY calls after that for our last win. And this one was a little bit more difficult. We were still playing the hourly, but we were actually playing the 15 and actually slam calls about right here in this area out of that demand, and we pushed out of that 15 straight into our 696 area. So this was the candle I was playing. Beautiful, and it actually blasted a little bit higher to 696 at the top. Regardless, we were all out. We took the win. It was a little bit, take your wins a little bit faster kind of day. And so that's why I was a little bit more adamant about, getting the wins in, because we know that today's likely going to be like a choppy kind of sideways day, a consolidation day, if you will. So consolidation is just, the move loading into the next day, or it's just, if it's like more sideways. I know we kind of broke down a little bit here, which is this is kind of a different story, but we did consolidate a lot. So, this is just moving up or getting ready for a bigger move. And likely we're going to see it tomorrow with job numbers. So that's all eyes on pre-market to see what kind of happens with that numbers. Now, I know a lot of people right now on X and Twitter, everyone's getting bearish. Everyone's seeing flow with puts, and now they're wondering what's going to happen. And there's so far there's no actual real uptrend structure break. Yes, Q is weaker, but I can't get bearish when SPY is just under new all-time highs. We are just under that, and so this is where I've seen this pattern so many times, guys. So many times where we push out. We end up dipping into end of day, and then we hold and then blast through. It's kind of like this, where we see it kind of come into range, hold, and then when the news comes, we actually break out and then go for that move right back. At least I know we're going to return right back to 696. So that's still a $3 move. Will we break and make more new all-time highs? Maybe, but I know that I'm safe, that I'm going to be able to win off of some calls to 696. Absolutely. So not going to probably look for a strike anywhere like further out of 697, 696 area, knowing that we should go kind of in the money there at the money. And so that's why I'm going to be looking for, us hitting that range. Now, like I said, I've seen this kind of setup, right? And sometimes, I mean, you really could, and I have it kind of flagging here, but I mean, you really could, what was that level? You really could move this kind of area to like a falling wedge kind of scenario. Now I have to go look at this level real quick. What was that 691 exactly? This kind of falling wedge area, which is exactly kind of what we're looking for tomorrow, right? 691 exactly. I don't think that's 691 exactly. We hit that level right here. I'm pretty sure it's that. Anyways, all right. So falling wedge kind of scenario where it's something like this, where you see this area, or it's kind of like that. It's not as clean, but I mean, we could even adjust this a little bit to like right there. Tell me that doesn't kind of make sense, right? We did dip under it and then they pushed it right back up. It's possible. It's possible. I've seen them do this plenty of times. And that's kind of the tricky part about it, right? If we end up kind of hitting this, and then if it ends up breaking out, I think, tomorrow's going to be the day to trust that upside for that move. But we will see. I'm going to leave it like that. So if we end up kind of breaking 693, maybe 695 for sure, if we end up breaking, right up here, I'll be willing to take those calls for the move into new all-time highs or all-time highs up there, or even wait to 696. But I feel like if there's a fake out, it might be around that area, and I don't want to be entering up there. I'd much rather kind of front run a little bit, knowing I'll be up on it, and then possibly, assess the situation on price action and stuff like that. So it needs to be aggressive going into tomorrow. Now, downside, let's talk about downside. For SPY, I'm not really looking at downside. I do like this move right here under that 691.96, pretty much that 691.66 kind of low of today. Under that, we know we're coming down to 690 and then likely down to 688. We're just right to like Monday's blast out area. And if we end up losing that, that's going to be the weekly going red, and we will see a bigger move down. That's going to be very interesting. Now, we're still further away. I mean, we're still a good amount away. That would be $10. Even if we get down to 685 tomorrow down here, we're still $10 away from that gap fill down there. So I don't know. We would have to get an aggressive sell-off. But again, we'll just take it zone by zone. And if we end up getting close to it, I'll be ready to size up on it and ready to go for those puts. Now, I just seeing after hours here, I don't know. I don't think we're going to go. I don't think so. Anyways, I'm not going to be looking for puts on SPY though. Anyways, I'm going to be looking for it on Q, right? If market starts selling off, downside starts triggering, we're going to turn our attention to Q. Q is the weaker one here. SPY is the stronger. If market starts pushing, we're going SPY, upside. You got to be able to understand who's stronger and who's weaker and then roll on it. You don't want to be shorting SPY and longing Q when that's not their strengths or weaknesses right now. So I like Q for downside, maybe under 610, 94 area right here. We end up kind of losing that as well, or start dipping in this range. I like this. Other than this area, we have a lot of support in this area. You can see a lot of zones in between here. I don't like that. I don't like the zones in between. It's just too much traffic. We could easily come down and then push right back up. And so you would make money off calls and or puts. Even if your entry was wrong, you would still make money on one or the other because of how much this could easily ping pong. Kind of like this, kind of like seeing stuff like this where, a little bit of up, down, push. I just want to get away from the traffic jam. I think a cleaner sweep would be under 606.49 down to 602. That's a better move. And if you are in puts from right there and it just hits this and ends up knifing, then you're front running a bigger move, from 606 all the way down to a possible 691. Say it hits 600 and then it doesn't hold, and then we knife into the gap. Again, that's a $6. That's like a $16 move at that point. You're over $10 move, So at that point, you're really going to be banking off puts, and so that's one thing I'm going to be watching going into, that downside. Is that possibly going to happen? I don't know. We'll see, but we're going to stick to our rules. So we'll stick to our game plans. I'd like to see first us under 610 area. And if we end up losing 608, that'd be a little bit better for me. I would like that move down into this area. Anything above 600 for QQ right now is still very much bullish. So if you don't want to fight through all that, just understand this purple line right here is the line in the sand. Even if you wait for us to come down here and then we lose that, you can still make money. A $10 move is still from 600 all the way down to 690 or the 590. 600 to 590, you're still making a $10 move, even if you waited to the absolute last of confirmations and you're not front running anything. So that's the big thing. Now, Q upside. I do really like Q upside here as well. The reason why I like it is downtrend breakout. We're holding this on the 4 hour. If we end up breaking, that 617, 618 zone right here, my target, if we end up breaking that, I know we're just going to run to 623, 624. These zones we've been playing for, the past few weeks back here. So we're familiar with this range, and we're very familiar with how much they are respected and how much, they work. So we're going to be very, very cautious with kind of in this area below, but we will risk on if we end up breaking that 618 level. We would need a 4 hour break. Right now, we're still on a 4 hour downtrend. Right now, we're still on a daily downtrend. And so the higher time frames, you got to be a little bit careful with calls as we start getting higher up here until we start flipping some of those trends. That's the hardest part. Now, SPY, that's why I'd much rather go SPY. SPY still sure is on a downtrend here on the daily, but hourly and 4 hour, we are still on an uptrend here. So I trust that a little bit more as well. And it's all time highs. So you can't go wrong with calls at all time highs. That is, you know, that is part of the rule book, right? Part of the rules, the recap rules. Never get too bearish when you're near all time highs, and they'll show you why. They will show you why. So right now, $2 up after hours here, just kind of just melting back up into this range. Nothing really crazy hit the tape as far as levels way above or below us. So I don't know, not really seeing anything that's going to give us any hints or clues. We're going to go into this kind of blindly tomorrow to see kind of what happens, and then we will go from there as far as what's going to happen. So we will see what happens. Questions, let me know, guys. Let me know. One of my trades, wap.com/Rio Capital. We've been on fire all week. We've been on fire last week, and we're trying to look for the banger this time. As far as setups and stuff, man, it's a little bit tougher. NVIDIA gave it up. I saw a huge whale yesterday sell their calls up there when we sold our calls. And so that's not really a good look. I was like, that's likely not going to do anything today. And of course it didn't. It just pulled down. AMD, I did like that we played that calls, but as we were playing the calls, I was telling the team, likely they're going to wick away from this because this is a daily gap that we're hitting. We hit a daily gap, which was the earnings sell-off gap. Knowing AMD, most times we hit a daily gap and it just gets away from it. So high of 219 all the way down to 213 did exactly that. Amazon's still trying to recover from its earnings sell-off, so I'm not even going to be looking at that. Google as well, kind of just fluttering, not much happening, even though we did sell the knife there. Not too bad, but not looking for, not seeing anything crazy. Apple ended up breaking structure yesterday, so we stopped looking at that upside. I knew puts would work yesterday, but we were already winning with other stuff, so we didn't go ahead and go for that. But it did break structure and it's just kind of holding demand. Not really doing too much. Now, IWM was something I was really looking at here before close. Jumped into supply there and very close to a bigger breakout, but ended up rejecting, coming back down. So I guess I'll be watching this still. It's still on a pretty decent uptrend. Has a gap fill right here, and I can show you on the daily. It has a gap fill right here, and I have my target at 269.30-ish area. I would assume it was going to try and melt to that. That's what I was assuming it was going to try and do today, but didn't quite do it. So we will keep an eye on that as well for upside, especially if it squeezes back or squeezes above that 268.59. Then I know we run to 270, and we can bank off that. Absolutely. So we will keep an eye on that just in case, knowing that if we break that 268, we'll squeeze that gap. We'll squeeze, that gap fill and hit 270 and possibly run zone to zone, which will end up going, 271, 272-ish, 270, 271-ish, which is all-time highs, IWM, and then possibly break out. After that, we will see. Still has a large gap down here that I will be eyeing if we get to it. But yeah, as far as like setups right there, we're going to look at gold too. Gold just fluttering, huge daily gap right there. Smaller hourly gap sitting below it just from the gap ups. Just in range, not much going on. Looks like the hype is over with gold and silver for now. And SPYX just kind of got right back to those all-time highs and just kind of pulled back down here. So we'll see what happens next. We'll stick to the zones. I think tomorrow's definitely going to be a SPY QQ day for us. And another thing, we're trying to bank off, off of Microsoft kind of near open, but it faked me out a little bit. It ended up, and we didn't touch it, and I wish I did, to be honest. It was right at breakout level, but this 15 ended up knifing, and so we ended up looking away from it and playing AMD. And once, we were getting done with AMD, I saw that this, ended up drying up on the candle and then pushing up there and breaking out. That 420 was that breakout level I wanted to play. 430 weekly calls. Those are at 150 at open. They ended up dipping to $100, and then they ended up moving to like 260 at this high right here. So, we definitely could have made money on that. I definitely would have rather have probably touched that, went heavy on that, and just been done for the day. But I didn't think they would kind of buy the gap there, or I mean, buy the dip there, and we kind of just pushed right up back in that zone. Yeah, we definitely could have banked off just this candle right here, this 15-minute candle right here, because we opened up above the zone. This is exactly a RioCap strategy, opening up above the zone. 15, any dip, we would have slammed it from 420 to 423, $3 move. We would have definitely made some money on that for sure. And then after that, we'd have to have been out of it, because then obviously you see ended up falling down, and yeah, not really doing too much. So yeah, not much to do or see here, but we'll still keep an eye on this going into tomorrow, just in case. We have our options open. Whatever we want, we will do. So we will go for it. But as far as like high conviction setup, but I'm like, guys, I'm ready for it. It's the only one I'm really seeing is SPY new all-time highs. If we downtrend breakout, I'll love that. And I probably won't really need to touch anything else unless something else is kind of blasting through. But other than that, I don't know. We will see. We will see kind of what happens here going into the news and all that. So we also have more news and then CPI data and all that on Friday. So Thursday, Friday, it's going to be a little bit more stacked stuff. So we will see kind of what happens. All right. Exactly what I'm looking for. All right. Where are we at? Those are the game plans. So we're set, we're ready, and we're ready to go, baby. So too bad X isn't working. I don't know why X isn't working. And even YouTube was having a little bit of issues, but working now for YouTube at least. So we will see what happens here. Anyways, all right. Done for this. All member stuff has been posted. Game plans are set. Let's see what happens pre-market. I'm ready to kill it. Let's make some money. I want to make at least 1,500 tomorrow. 2K, 1K to 2K. Let's get it. I want one or the other. Doesn't matter. So let's do it. It needs to be a good play too. So let's go for it. Anyways, all right. Appreciate y'all showing up, guys. Let me know if y'all need anything. DM me on X if y'all need anything. WAP.com/RioCapital. If y'all need anything, I appreciate y'all showing up. And go check out RioCap.com if you want to learn more about me and or the organization. So appreciate y'all showing up. Have a good rest of y'all's evening. Let's be ready for tomorrow, and let's attack this week. Finish this week strong. We've had 2 strong, really good days. Monday was awesome. Today was great. We sized down. And so tomorrow's going to be, if the action's good, we're going to size back up. And then Thursday, Friday, we'll size down and, protect our gains. So let's see what happens. All right. Appreciate y'all showing up. Have a good rest of y'all's evening. And we'll see you out there.